And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket.
Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we are here for another week of laughs, and good times. What's going on, guys? We got DJ Jones. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Oh, I just love to have you. And we also are blessed by the presence of the one, the only franchise, Mr. Jermaine Parker. How you doing, sir?
Yo, what's going on with you, babe?
Let's crack a lacking, brah. So I know you guys are wondering where's the one, the only Lori Parker. She's not feeling well. So.
I was wondering that.
Yeah. See, she's watching, I'm sure, but laid up in the bed with the dog right now. So, yeah.
Okay.
So what that really means is that there's no one to try to reel me in and control me and all that good stuff. So, oh well, we'll see how it goes. But how y'all been? How your week been going so far?
Oh, me? I guess. Oh, well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, well, normally, I mean, big bro. I mean, you normally up there first. My week has been all right. Been literally been licking my wounds over the past 4 days. All I've seen, you know what I did. Here's the funny part, and I know both of y'all get your giggles out and stuff. But I have to admit this one thing, though. Okay. Out of all the years, since 1980, that's how long I've been a Cowboy fan. And I used to always say it all the time, but I did not realize the level of hate. It hit me this week. I'm like, I saw more memes, more jokes, more posts about the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it outranked every news feed I had, every real story that happened. And I'm like, wow, like Cowboys are truly hated.
Yes.
And it's it's not just the team, it's the fans. Like your boy Stephen A. He didn't even concentrate on the team. He concentrated on the fans.
He came back from COVID just for this.
Just to do that. Right.
Yeah,
well, and I was like,
but CJ, it is the fans. It's just the fans. The reason it's not Dak. It's not the rest of the boys and stuff. It's the fans. You guys are annoying.
That's what it is. That's it.
Yeah.
I do understand.
That fan base sets itself up.
I do understand, and I have to admit right here on your show, Brian. I didn't realize what I was defending myself as being a true fan of the game, as being a football fan. And, you know, you and I, we would always have this back and forth as to who does that? I don't put my boys in the Super Bowl. I told you at the beginning of the regular season that I hoped, air quotations, I hope that we would get 12 games. I didn't know. See, I don't look at nobody else's show until like well after the fact. I didn't know that Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless did his prediction. Right. I didn't know nothing about that. So he called 12-5. I was saying, and I said this, before we even went that far. I said I
Mhm.
was hoping to go that far.
I called 12-5.
But,
Matter of fact, I said,
But 12 and
if
5
y'all didn't win 12 games, then you trash.
but 12 and 5 is not Super
I
Bowl.
remember you saying that.
12 and
Mhm.
5 don't get you the Super Bowl.
No.
So you see what I'm saying? So I was defending myself. But I do have to admit,
Mhm.
right here on your show at 610, you are absolutely right. We have some crazy ass delusional fans that really do think we're going to the Super Bowl every year. We really do.
Yes, and to that point, as soon as y'all win a preseason game this coming season, you will hear that all over again. That's why people hate.
Like I said, I didn't know they honestly, I did not know they existed. I promise you, I did not. But it was only until I started really like looking at like Cowboy fan clubs and stuff like that and everything, and I'm like, oh, these mother suckers actually. No, y'all, no. We are building. We are building. I can easily see another 3 years easily. I don't see a Super Bowl any time before the next 3 years.
Are you sure you're a Cowboys fan?
Playoffs?
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Like the first quarter. Yeah, the
You
first quarter of the first game of next year, if they up by 3 points, there will be Cowboys fans who will predict the Super Bowl.
And with that being said, my brothers, I went on my very first Dallas Cowboy disappointment rant. Y'all won't even believe what I did. I actually took down all of my Cowboy stuff, with the exception of the things that I can't take off, like the jumbo stickers.
Yeah,
I took it out of my car. I am doing a Dallas Cowboy blackout.
But that's what y'all do right now. Y'all black out. You can't find you.
What?
Got to do wellness checks. But that's what Cowboy fans do at this time. They so mad with the team, they swear them off and everything else. And
no. I'm not swearing them off. I said blackout.
I got you.
Blackout. In other words, I'm not gonna purchase anything. Normally, I'll do like a little cowboy, like little, knick-knack or something like that. I'm blacking them out this year. I'm blacking them out.
So CJ, you're not a bad Cowboys fan, right? Because you're not a fanatic in the sense of fandom, right?
Delusional.
And you're not the target of all. It's coming your way, but you're not the target of all this hate, right?
Right.
Because and you can leave your stuff up. It's just one thing, like the first thing people come back and go, Panthers fans. Well, what about your Panthers? Whoa! I knew my Panthers were trash in preseason. My expectations, and never have you heard me say, "Oh, this is our year." Every year, and then Bird and stuff. I sat through a 1-15 season with the Panthers and stuff. You can't tell me nothing.
Can y'all see this? Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
These are Dallas Cowboy stars.
Yeah.
Jimmy, Mike, Jared, Tony, Troy, Emmy. When you got legends of your own team, former team, that's saying everything from the coaching to the leadership / non-leadership of the new quarterback was garbage, what can you say? It's coming directly from your platform. This is I'm beyond words. I'm beyond words. Y'all have at it.
Well, luckily, there's still memes out there that you hadn't seen, so we'll make sure we get those up on social media. But
definitely.
Hey, look, Dallas is not the only team, and I could never do the show that my dear brother Haywood do every Wednesday at 6:00. Head Sports. They do a fantastic job every week of breaking down individual matchups, stats, predictions, You can go back to the beginning of the season. I know last year correctly predicted the Super Bowl matchup and the outcome. It's a great show. I personally, I'm just a regular fan, right? And so I can't break things down. But I will say this to you, CJ. The Cowboys are not the only franchise right now questioning where they went wrong for either the teams that didn't make the playoffs or teams that exited early last weekend. So don't feel completely bad. Again, the hate for the Cowboys isn't for the team itself. It is for the fanatical fans who are just every year outrageous. They are like a 67-year-old stripper talking about their heyday when they used to pull in a couple G's every night and stuff. Yeah, I was a queen. Yeah, okay, well maybe that's true. We can't change history. That's true, but today it's trash. And so that's the thing, you know. And if in the same kind of analogy stuff, if that person were to reimagine and have some self-examination and some humility, you know, people wouldn't talk about them so much. And I think Cowboys fans, because I mean, look, don't get me wrong, the Eagles is trash. I mean, there's a lot of trash teams out there. The Panthers are trash. Heck, we can't even get former classmate Pep Hamilton declined to interview as offensive coordinator for the Panthers because the Panthers are trash. And Pep probably, and it would be neat Pep to work for our head coach Rule because he's got more experience than him. So you're not the only ones with issues out there. We can't even get qualified candidates to interview for jobs because we so trash. So
yeah. Fun fact: I used to ride the bus with Pep. went to school with him. He lived in the neighborhood right across from us, Jermaine and Autumnwood. So I remember Pep actually played. Pep was a minimum 2-sport athlete. I think he did some track too, but Pep won the basketball championship with Coach McCullough, and then he also played football as well for West Charlotte. So I was there.
He ain't always right.
I was there when Pep sat there, and they went to for basketball, won the championship at the Dean Dome against Jerry Stackhouse in Kinston. So. I've known about Pep for a very, very long time. Anthony, welcome, my brother. He says you might hate him, but Stephen A. Smith is always right about the Cowboys. The whole NFC East is trash. So let me dig into that just a little bit because I did want to at least throw out a couple of things about the beloved Cowboys. Jermaine is absolutely right. All of the hate is about the Cowboy fans because I remember growing up, and now your mother's watching. Hello, moms. I remember watching the Cowboys from back in the days before I had a team of my own, before the Panthers came to Charlotte. And I tried my best to really like the Cowboys. You know, I remember back in the day, I had the number 22 Emmitt Smith shoes. I remember rooting for Troy and Moose Johnson and those big guys up front and everything. Loved them to death, but end up souring on the Cowboys so bad because the fans were so daggum obnoxious. It made it hard to root for the team. So I ended up becoming a de facto Eagles fan because I knew that was one of the teams that they hated. They drove me to the Eagles. I didn't become a Falcons fan. I didn't become, some South fan, the New Orleans, anything like that. I went straight for their rivals, the Eagles, and was an Eagle fan all the way when Andy Reid was there, Randall Cunningham was there, Donovan McNabb was there, T.O. was there. Yeah, I was Eagles fan all the way back then. Still am on the low key an Eagles fan now, except for when they play my beloved Panthers and turn the Bank of America Stadium green and all you see is fly, Eagles, fly. Then I get all this mess from Cowboy fans, which I got from this one too, talking about my team. Let me be clear about my team. You don't ever see Carolina Panthers fans or Greg Olson going on to a show with Stephen A. Smith talking about buy your tickets to SoFi, like Michael Irvin did this year. We know who we are, and we know we're not that good. But what we do know is that the last time the Cowboys went to the Super Bowl was 1995. So fun fact about 1995. Yeah, I mean, but there's kids that have been born since then that don't know what that means. So, I can tell you how many championships West Charlotte won when I was there, but God, that was in the 90s. Who cares? But anyway, 1995, fun fact, was the first year of the Carolina Panthers. Since 1995, Carolina been to 2 Super Bowls. They didn't win them, but they was good enough to get to the Super Bowl.
You put their toe in.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Put their toe in.
When you get your toe, that ain't getting your toe in. Getting your toe in is getting into the plaplayoffs. Getting your toe in.
What I meant is that they went to the Super Bowl and they didn't win. That's what I'm talking about, the actual Super Bowl. But yeah.
So
I'm with you. I was actually supporting them during that time. That's when they was the expansion team.
So when a Cowboy fan says to me, "Hey, what has your team done?" My response is they've won more divisional titles and they've been to the Super Bowl more often since the last time you've been, which means in a lot of ways since 95, because you can't go back any further because they didn't exist.
Yes,
but
I'm about to say, we can't go back further than that.
Right. So I'm going as far back as the last time you went, and that was our first year, to say that in that span of 27 years, the Cowboys have been back to the Super Bowl. None. Panthers been there twice. Panthers done won more divisional titles in that same time period. So with all that said, who's been the most successful team in the last 27 years? I'd say the Panthers. And the Panthers suck. So, Now, the other thing I like to say about the Cowboys is the only thing I say about the Cowboys is that I'm hearing somebody tell me.
That's very 9-year-old of you. Thank you.
Well, no, I'm just going by the numbers. I'm just looking at the numbers to say, okay, if you're talking about, because people love to do that. I got Steelers fans that'll say the same thing. Well, we got this, we got that. And I'm going, yeah, but okay, let's look over the last 27 years. Unfortunately, I can't do that with the Steelers because they have been successful in the 2000s and 2010s. They've been with their coach, Mike Tomlin, who's been there for 15 years, and they've never had a losing season. Can't say crap about the Steelers in that respect. They've won AFC North titles and things like that. Big Ben has been a Hall of Fame quarterback. You've had one quarterback for the last 18 years. What can I say about the consistency level of the Steelers organization up there? A lot of teams mirror themselves or try to after the Steelers organization. Dave Tepper is a product of the Steelers and is trying to instill that same kind of culture down here. Ain't happened yet. Might not happen with the current leadership, but we will see. The last thing I'll say about the Cowboys is that the other thing about the Cowboy fans is y'all get up when you beat up on teams you're supposed to win. You beat up on the NFC East. You were 6-0 in the NFC East. Against the rest of the league, you were 6-5, meaning that you were basically one game above 500 outside of your division. Every division, and you have the weakest division in the league. So if you tell me that you won the NFC East, that's kind of like saying I didn't date the fattest girl in school. Okay. She wasn't the ultimate chunky, but you ain't saying she was fine neither. You just saying that I could see her ankles a little bit better than the other one. Okay.
Hey, as a side note, I don't care how big you are, girl. I got strong back, strong legs. Won't you go on? Yeah, okay.
I give out too quick. I'll tap out on you, girl. You only got like 6 seconds. You better do what you got to do. But anyway,
I'm 6'4", 220, baby.
TJ, just a tie note on it. I got to pay the bills. We do have a public service announcement coming up, and then we'll get busy on the other side. Here we go. Hello, everybody. This is Brian Parker with Head to Head. And I have an important message. For those of you who have friends during this very, very somber time of the year, I implore you to please check on them. there's just so many things in the world that aren't right now, and folks may not see a way out. And we need to make sure that we just know that they're okay. Now, ordinarily, I may be talking about financial hardships or just simple depression because of COVID and lockdowns and political divides and things like that, but not today. Today, there's a more depressing phenomenon for a lot of people in the country. And that simply is the fact that just the other day, once again, the Dallas Cowboys lost a football game. And their season is over. Please, if you know a Cowboy fan, check on them. They ain't doing too good, y'all. If you can't find the Cowboy fans because when they lose, they go into hiding, we can help. Call 1-800 We Dem Boys. 1-800-We-Dem-Boys. And we will help you find your missing, delusional Cowboy fan. This is Brian Parker with Head to Head, and thank you. Good night.
How about them Cowboys? Oh, you stupid.
He said 1-800 We Dem Boys.
Oh, I didn't see anything. Y'all just popped up on the screen with your hood and your hat.
Good.
Oh, you didn't see the public service announcement?
Good.
I didn't see it. Like my screen went green.
Oh, okay.
Did you took time out your day?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time out your day for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I had to make a public service announcement because this is the time of the year where, I mean, if you watch that game, I mean, they were still in the game because Jimmy G was trying to keep them, throw it to them. They were already crying. They had already seen this movie before, and it was funny because if you're familiar with Undisputed with Shannon and Skip Bayless, Monday was their highest rating day ever.
Yeah.
And it's because the whole FS1 crew did one of the best ratings ever. But Speak for Yourself and all of them, they did the same thing. But it was really because of Skip Bayless's overall love for the Cowboys. People tuned in to see him have to do his walk of shame and see how good Shannon Sharpe was going to lay into him and everything else. So
he gave it to him really good, bro. Listen, one thing that I respect the hell out of Shannon, even though I can't stand his ass. Like he's that one to where like you can't stand him, but you respect him because the brother speaks nothing but facts. And when he starts spitting out your stats and everything like that, like I can't keep up with it. I mean, I just watch it like for the banter. But when he starts spitting out these facts, bro, I'm like, I want to be mad at you, but you're right. So that's what I meant with that.
It's hard to be mad with somebody that not only was a player, but and played so long, but he's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
So he's not just pulling stuff out his backside.
Well, he knows what he's talking about. And it's like I went back and I saw the highlights of our owner. And I'm like, oh God, why, Jesus? Why? Because this mother sucker said, well, our players didn't deserve it, our blah 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 didn't deserve it, our fans didn't deserve it. Man, why you gonna say something that stupid around Shannon Sharpe? Man, Shannon jumped on that statement. He was like, that's y'all problem right there. It's not about deserve. Did you earn? And no sooner than he said that, Mike Irvin, our biggest supporter, ex-player, went back and said the exact same damn thing. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Well, the problem has always been this. What has been the most consistent thing over this span? Your owner.
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm saying.
Quarterback has changed, running back has changed.
I've been saying this.
He's still the same owner.
I've been saying this thing for almost 30 years. Jerry Jones, he does too much. Man, he needs to go ahead and sell this team to somebody else that will just sit back in that box and you don't even know their name. I can't even think of another team where the owner gets more press, more coverage, just as much as his star players do. I can't tell you another owner of another team. I can't.
Daniel Snyder.
Who's that? Like seriously. But anyway,
you don't know the Mara family or the Davis family for the Raiders?
No. Jerry Jones keep.
You don't know who Al Davis was?
No, brother. No, I'm serious. I don't know no other owner.
Okay.
Jerry Jones.
I mean, I get your point. I get your point. Most people know the reason that a lot of people know the owner families is that even when the actual owner passes, they just pass it to family members and folks like that. So like the Ford family that owns the Detroit Lions. Well, you know Ford because of the cars, but you know that they have Ford Field and they own the Detroit Lions. There's just certain families out there that you know because they've been around for so long. You know the Buss family owns the Lakers, the cross in the sports references. So the difference is that
you know what Anthony is right. Because, yeah, his son ain't gonna be no better.
In the family. Of course he is. I mean that's what he's setting it up for, Stephen and Jerry Jr. But what happens is that most owners aren't the general managers, you know. And the problem is that I've always heard Jerry Jones sometimes say, with Jerry Jones, the owner fired Jerry Jones, the general manager, and he said, "Well, yes." He says, "But that's not going to happen." So he understands that he wields too much power, and the coach most of the time is more or less a pawn of his, somebody that's not going to really fight back, somebody that doesn't have ultimate control on the 53-man roster. You know, win or lose, your general manager / owner is outside the locker room giving interviews. You know, even though Dak might have had a good game, Dak isn't the one getting all of the attention. It's, well, what did Jerry think? What's Jerry going to say? Everybody's looking Monday morning for Jerry when he does his radio show to see what the owner says. Daniel Snyder used to be as outspoken, and he's learned to pull back. But you don't see Green Bay's owners doing that. You don't see Tampa Bay's owners doing that. More successful teams. You don't see the Buffalo Bills ownership doing that. It's all about Josh Allen and Scott McDermott. You don't see that with these other organizations. Jerry likes the cameras. Jerry likes the limelight. He likes to be in it. He overshadows his team, and that's again why Cowboys take so much criticism. Their rating, and you brought up to me before that their ratings are always so high. Yeah, because half the country is rooting against them and can't wait to see them burn in effigy. That's why your ratings are like they are. It's just like Duke basketball. I used to watch Duke basketball not because I wanted to see them win. I wanted to be there when they lost.
I'm glad they lost, and I hope they burn it down.
Yeah. So really, honestly, you know, that's the thing with your team. You know, I hate rooting against anybody, but when it comes to the Cowboys, they've almost earned it because they come at you with such boisterous and bluster that you just can't wait to see them fall off the hill a bit. Anthony says Jerry Jones, the type of person, if he dies, he would want his body cremated and put it in the field and still be in control of the games. Amen.
Oh my God, bro!
They would bury him under
you have no argument here.
Yeah,
you have no argument here. You know, but you probably just gave him the idea. Thanks, Ant.
No. I'm sure Jared been thought of that, then wrote that into his will. He is going to be buried somewhere at that stadium, or his ashes will be sprinkled all over. Hell, you might be sitting on them from game to game and don't even know it. So anyway, who knows? But anyway,
Yeah.
I was like, I just had to give you a little bit of fodder about the Cowboys.
That's
come
cool.
on, join us
That's
on
cool.
the couch. The couch is big enough for all of us. Only 2 teams get to the big dance. The fact that they did get into the playoffs, that is an accomplishment because there were other teams. Only 14 teams made it to the playoffs. That means 18 did not.
18.
So
Yeah.
you got to look at it that way. But if Cowboy fans were a little bit more measured, we wouldn't be so hard on them. But when it's Super Bowl or bust, then that means that this year was a disappointing year. So anyway, there's always preseason, and we'll see how things go. Now, kind of still in the lines of football, guys. I know that y'all will remember a couple of weeks ago, we had an incident in a game, and the incident that happened in the game was bigger than the game itself. It was a game where Tom Brady actually had to wheel his team back against the New York Jets because the Jets were beating them. And he had to do a lot of late game heroics to get them to win against the lowly Jets. Now, the Jets are a team that they don't have all the pieces there, but I would say they're a lot further than where the Panthers are. They're a lot further than where the Houston Texans are. And Antonio Brown decided that he was going to show himself, literally, in the game, allegedly saying that he was being told to go back in the game hurt, which didn't look that way when he started doing jumping jacks. But he decided to shed his clothes on the field, throw equipment into the stands, do some jumping jacks, and peace out to the team in the middle of the game. And he got a lot of criticism for quitting on his team, acting like that, national TV, that kind of thing, and everything else. And the first thing that I started seeing people start to comment on was, guys, mental health is real. Which later, Antonio and his agent said, "Oh, I'm not having no mental health issue. It was just a simple fact that he wanted me to go back in the game hurt, and I told him no." And then the contradictory story was, no, he was getting mad because Gronkowski was getting targeted a lot more than him, and he had incentives that he was trying to hit so that he could earn up to at least another $1 million on his contract.
That $1
Now,
million.
on the sports show, I ripped into that theory because the whole idea was, bruh, you had a whole nother game to get to those targets. If that was the issue, you were pretty close to some of them. You weren't going to get them all unless he just decided he was going to force feed you the ball, which he did do the game before where he threw you 15 targets. The other issue is, bruh, you got suspended for 3 games for putting up a fake vaccine card. If you had played in them games, you wouldn't be worried about how close you would already. Yep. So there was already those things where if it had anything to do with those incentives, well, dude, you put yourself in a position where you down to the last 2 games, and now you're trying to make up for time that you caused yourself to miss. In any respect, whether that's true or not, my biggest thing is mental health is real. I want to say that first and foremost. And I think we have to be very, very mindful of people when they tell you that, hey, I need a mental health break. We need to respect that. When Simone Biles went to the Olympics and she was not in a good headspace and she missed a lot of her competitions for mental health, she got a lot of blowback from that because people just wanted her to just almost shut up and jump anyway. Which is very dangerous if your head ain't in the right space, trying to come down on a little small balance beam. All them people that said that, love to see them try that in their head in a good space. When Naomi Osaka had to back out of some of these press events and couldn't do her tennis tournaments, she received a lot of blowback from that too. And I think that is totally fine. But I think the whole Antonio Brown issue was blown out of proportion when it came to mental health, for several reasons. I don't know if people have been watching Antonio Brown on his way out of Pittsburgh. I don't know if people watched Antonio Brown leave $29 million on the table because he could not shut up for 4 days and wait till his contract was guaranteed. I don't think people remember Antonio Brown going to the New England Patriots and doing a whole bunch of craziness there, and then even throwing Robert Kraft on blast. So there was a lot of questionable mental health things that he was doing, a whole lot before he actually did what he did during the Tampa game. And my problem and what I'm getting to, guys, is there were already signs that this brother has issues. His talent cannot be denied. But it seems to me that people for the longest overlooked the glaring red flags because they weren't looking after Antonio Brown, the man. They were more interested in Antonio Brown, the player, and how he can help us win some football games. What y'all think about that?
Well, I mean, everybody has their favorite workhorse. You said something earlier about no. I did not follow Antonio Brown like through his other teams and stuff. To me, he just kind of like materialized. But even whenever I was watching like some of the different things that was surrounding his name, the first thing I thought about was that he's kind of like the Jussie Smollett of freaking football. He's an excellent player and everything, but to me, he came across like, hey, everybody pay attention to me. Everybody pay attention to me. So when I started paying attention to him, I saw his highlights. I'm like, oh, damn, okay, he's really good and everything else. So what's his problem? And then I would hear some of the highlights that came off of Shannon and Skip and them show and everything. And they were saying the things that you were saying, like lining up with the things that you were talking about. And I'm like, okay, at first, I was feeling a little bit of sympathy for him before I knew everything else. And it seemed to be legit. It seemed like he had a legitimate issue going on. You know, I wouldn't want you to go out there and injure yourself for the sake of the dollar. But then when you start seeing the other antics and you started realizing, okay, behind that story, there's another story. I'm like, okay, he don't get no sympathy from me, man. I mean, it is what it is. He made these decisions. And like you said, to what you said earlier, if I believe it all started with the whole fake vaccination card. It starts there, and then everything else kind of snowballed. So he don't get no sympathy here, man. Not at all.
I appreciate both your takes on this. So here's what I had to say about Mr. Brown is that he is, as my brother said, he's had some past issues with decision making, and so he might have been completely correct, but sometimes, you know, like the boy that cried wolf, he's the boy that cried crazy, because remember when he left those teams, he went and sought help and these other things, and if I was being cynical, I could probably say that was more of his team saying, hey, why don't you go see somebody, or, you know, go see somebody, and that'll help you get your next contract, because if we can convince people that you're not just a butthole, because my mom said language earlier, you're not a butthole, you know, you can get your next contract. And Tampa went out on a limb he was very talented. But a lot of teams were not going to pick him up and stuff. I believe it was because of his relationship with Tom Brady in New England that Tom was able to convince them to pick him up and give him a chance, which paid off for him last year in the championship. So it wasn't a bad gamble, and he was productive minus his 3 games. You know, he was productive this year for him too. So again, it's not talent. I will say this. On a micro level for Antonio individually has his own issues. And so it's hard to use Antonio as a poster child for mental health and stuff, because he's got some more underlying, it's more complex than that. Do I think that he was telling the truth in terms of his coaches knew that he was hurt? even though he did the jump jacks and stuff. He talked about that too. The bottom line about that is that he could have waited till after the game. He didn't have to go back into the game. He could have that discussion on the sideline. And so, him saying, well, they basically fired me. Well, no, they didn't fire you. And because that's not how you get fired in the NFL.
No, it's not.
And even if you did tell him, hey, you're fired if you don't go back in the game, which is not what even he recounts, him saying directly to him, the head coach, Brian.
Bruce Arians.
Yeah,
Bruce Arians.
Sorry. So he could have stayed to the end of the game.
Right.
He wanted to make a public statement. He wanted to be flamboyant and stuff. So when people talk about mental health and stuff, and it's not that he can't do that, because one of the things I talk about, before he even had a chance to respond, there was already a narrative put out there for him. Because and even though we've been talking about football mostly all this episode, I'd be remiss not to bring up racism. Racism plays a lot for Black athletes and how they're portrayed when they do things. We've got tons, and so you brought up the Olympics. We've had over the years, we've had tons of other athletes, non-minorities, do things of questionable nature and stuff. And it's talked about, it's moved on. When our young gymnast didn't want to do, she had, and other gymnasts who, and that's a small world of professional gymnasts, right? That's a small world. So for the whole world to have an opinion about it, and something that we know that most people cannot have any expertise in, is more telling than anything else. But it's more telling because when it's a Black athlete, and I'm not defending Antonio because he could have sat there. It doesn't cost that. And I tell my kids, it doesn't cost you anything to be quiet. You can be mad, and you can say something and escalate something, or you could just kind of chill out and be like, you know what, Daddy's tripping, but I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna let it slide for a little bit. So he could have done that, but I believe the way that it was portrayed afterwards has a lot to do about how the media controls the narrative when it comes not just the athlete. And athletes, when they don't perform, especially Black athletes, when I say the racism and stuff, or maybe the prejudice for it is that they should be grateful that somebody's paying them anyway. You use the horse or the animal metaphor when it comes to athletes and stuff. Because we're viewed as property in things, and when those things don't behave in the way that you think they should behave, especially when you think, any Black person with money, most white people think that they should be grateful. Well, I don't understand why he's upset.
Right.
And
that's why I began my statement of everybody, has like their favorite workhorse, or he's the Jussie Smollett of football because, of the drama. Yeah, Juicy. Yeah, Juicy.
Oh.
And like I said, I mean, to each his own. I am one of those ones that I do suffer from true PTSD from all kinds of things. So yes, mental health really is real. However, there is help out there, and so take advantage. That's my little public announcement. But yeah, I mean, but that's what I saw, and that's why I said he didn't really get any sympathy from me because, to me, I didn't see where his case was really solid for him to be as dramatic as he did.
You know what I say, because this is America, right? And everybody likes to talk. So everybody likes to talk about how great America is in personal freedoms and choices until people start making personal choices with their freedom. And then it's a problem. And then mainly just for minorities.
Right.
But I mean, look, it's a job. At the end of the day, that's his job. And he's not the first person to quit in the middle of the shift.
That's pretty much what he did.
He's not. It's a job. Yeah, his job's on TV, But he's
Look,
not the first person.
I did not come to work today. I don't know how y'all got it twisted.
You know, and I don't. And if you ever had a job, and I'm this should hit home for a lot of people. There is somebody you have worked for in your past who's like, if this MF say something else to me today, I'm either have to walk away, or y'all got to go to jail because I put my hands on, right? Right. And so if Anthony Brown, and I don't know what his relationship with his coach is. I don't know. I've never really heard anything about it. This is me again. That's why I'm not on the One for Show of Head to Head Sports that airs 6 o'clock every Wednesday. My brother and Ms. Hargrove, they kill it. Anyway, just a fan. But I hadn't heard anything about him and how he is as a player's coach or stuff like that. But I mean, I understand from being a grown man and being in a situation. That's like if you tell me you raised kids in your house for 18 years and not one time did you not think about selling them, running away. I should have wore a condom. If I was still dating that throat goat, you would never be here. If you ain't never had no negative ideas and stuff, then you're lying. And so you're lying too if you can't understand a man being so upset of his job. The reason that a lot of people don't do it is because we're not financially free enough to just throw our hands up and take off the McDonald's uniform and walk out and let the fries burn. Exactly. We have to be there. He said, I'm a grown man. You're not going to talk to me that way.
Boom.
I don't need to give him sympathy, but I understand.
Right. I mean, that's just like OJ. That's just like with OJ. Didn't say he did it. I just say I understand. So
I got a little breaking news. Yeah, we know he did it. Anthony says, breaking news, Dak has fined $25,000 for his comments about the refs.
Oh, wow.
Folks don't know what that is. Actually, I think he should have been fined more. I think it should have been more than that.
What do you
okay,
think? I'm sorry, I missed
hold
it.
on, stop right there. Because see, I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't care if this was Tom Brady, and I can't stand his ass. I don't care if it was Wilson or anything. How in the hell? What was so bad or deviant about him giving his opinion as to why he lost the game? He gave his opinion.
No. Well, first and foremost,
it wasn't like he was spitting fat.
Well, CJ, to answer your question, there is a rule where players and coaches are not supposed to criticize the officiating in any of the games. That's period. That'll get you a fine anytime. That yes, you can be fined for wearing the wrong shoes, wearing the wrong helmet, wearing jewelry.
That's happening. I've never understood that. So evidently there's a lot more to football etiquette than what I know.
Agree with it or not, it is a rule that you're not supposed to criticize the officiating. Mike McCarthy kind of did the same thing on the slide tip, but what made Dax a little bit worse, as Brad calls me a hater. Okay, you didn't get to see my public service announcement, Brad. I might play it again before the end of the show because it was damn marvelous. But anyway, he went further because Dak was initially mad at the end of the game because fans were throwing things onto the field, and he thought the fans were focusing their anger against the team. When they later explained to Dak, no, they were doing that at the refs, Dak's response was, well, good for them then.
Again, what's wrong with that? He didn't say.
It's like somebody goes shoots up a local school, and I come on here and be like, "Yo, man, I get it. If you got to shoot it up." There's a responsibility from Dak as a player not to encourage that kind of behavior, and that's what he did. He encouraged his fans, those annoying Dallas Cowboy fans, to be more annoying. Right. And it's dangerous throwing stuff out there. Besides the fact it's dangerous. And so again, as my brother pointed out, there's a rule, a long-standing rule. It's not new. It's not within the last 30 years as a rule. It is a long-standing rule.
And it's something about the Cowboys It's something about the
listen,
Cowboys not understanding.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was like, it's something about the Cowboys not understanding the rules, whether about the etiquette about the officiating or the fact that the line judge has to come and spot the ball and touch it before you can hike it.
Well, I mean, everybody knows that.
No, no, they don't. No, they don't.
Anyway,
no, they don't. Because when Dak got greedy and ran for an extra 5 yards, and the center tried to spot the ball, when does the center just decide this is where the ball landed? I'm gonna spot
we know,
it.
Man, listen, look, you gets no argument there, bro. Look, that was the only thing that I was like.
That rule wasn't created last. That rule wasn't created last week.
No, but all I'm saying is that I did not know about the long-standing rule about the officiating thing and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
I thought it was to me. I thought it was. I thought it was kind of like.
I don't think there's any professional.
I kind of like put that in the box of just basically being like just football is just really going soft. But I mean it is what it is. Okay, he's fined 25. It ain't my 25. I'm not the quarterback. Life moves on for me. So
yeah, but you know, like I said, I said it should have been more because to Anthony's point, Bruce Arians got fined $50,000 for hitting his own player in the head, which was wrong. He was trying to keep him from getting a penalty, but you do that to the wrong player, Bruce, BA, somebody gonna knock you out. And yeah, in the old days, maybe coaches were, I mean, a la Bobby Knight throwing chairs, but coaches were a little bit more handsy with their players and stuff like that. And you can't be like that. If he gets you a penalty, he gets you a penalty. You can't take it into your own hands and put your hands on a player like that. For whether you think the reason was justified or not. Now, Arians has said, no, I don't regret it, and I'm going to appeal the fine. But those fines are in place because there's player safety. He could have escalated that situation. If he got the wrong player, that player could have turned around and smacked the dog crap out of him. Then everybody would have been talking about how that black player sat there and beat up on that old white man. And that's all everybody would have focused on instead of the fact that he touched him to begin with.
So the fact is that they're grown men. They're grown men, and they're not animals. And so when we talk about whether it's the play style, the play call, the critiques and stuff, talk about being soft. No, it's about a lot of grown men standing up for themselves and saying, "I'm not an animal. You can't just talk to me any kind of way." This ain't college,
right?
And even college is getting away from that too, right?
Yeah, they are. They are.
You know, because we're people, and so but it's okay because you never hear swim coaches talk to people like that or tennis coaches talk to people like that. It's only predominantly black sports where most athletes are 50% or more black that you hear them talk to them like they're freaking animals.
Right.
It's not a coincidence. It really isn't.
And that's why Urban Meyer got shown the door because he couldn't understand that, dude, you're not at Ohio State no more. These dudes are not on scholarships where they need this to be able to get out the scouts for the NFL and stuff like that. No, these are some grown men, and a lot of them are making a whole lot more money than you. You're not going to be able to do that. And they have a players union that collectively, listen to what I'm saying, CJ, there is a player union that collectively bargains on the behalf of the players, whether it comes down to rules about speaking out against officiating, whether it comes to what you're allowed to wear, even on game days, how you're supposed to show up on game days. That's why you always see them dressed to the nines. Because why? It's about the image of the league. It ain't about that one player. It's about that shield. That NFL shield is more important than one player or one coach. It's always about their image.
I get it. No, I get it. I get it, yo.
So I brought up the whole mental health thing to say that if Antonio Brown really needs help, I honestly believe, because I heard a lot of people say, man, his career is done. Well, I mean, I don't think so, because if a team feels like he can add something to their team, they'll take another chance on him because they're looking more at the player than the man. If you really feel like the man needs some kind of help, you would make it a condition of him getting his next gig because you don't.
Absolutely.
I
And that's
I don't agree with you, and the reason I don't agree with you is because the NFL has already shown that they value brand over talent.
Agreed.
That's why Kaepernick can't get a job, right? It wasn't because he didn't have enough talent, and there were teams out there who desperately needed his services. But what they said was brand is more important, and for them, yeah, it's part of the image. And so the problem with him is not his mental health. That's why Tampa Bay was willing to take a chance. They're like, okay, we'll do the mental health study. But I think with this latest display, he's killed his brand. And it's not like he has it's not like a Cam Newton where the fans in Carolina still have a lot of love for Cam. And so even if his talent wasn't matching that, his fandom allowed him another opportunity. Anthony Brown,
that's why they brought him back, was because of branding.
Yeah, it was branding,
because they needed to take the attention off of how bad they suck.
The seat, what was it going to hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's sell some more tickets. Let's sell some more tickets. The season's not working out. We might as well make some money. And so they brought him back in. AB doesn't have that kind of following anywhere. Pittsburgh might be the only place that he could go back to that he might have still some kind of fandom that he built up over those years there. But the way he walked off of Tampa Bay, I'm pretty sure Tampa Bay fans aren't garnering the ownership for him to come back. So
he's worn out his welcome. He's worn out his welcome.
Yeah, what you got to understand too is that every year there's a new AB that enters the league. In terms of somebody that's fast, that's big, that's strong, that talent, and it's kind of like an option trade. There's decay that happens when you hold on to it for too long, right? And so AB is at the decaying part of the career. He's not going to be faster next year.
True.
He might be a little bit stronger, but he's not going to be faster. He's not going to be as fast as he was this year. Every year they fall off, especially when the defense is getting faster and stronger and you're getting older. That's not one of those positions. I think there's a lineman out there who's like 40-something years old, and he's out there still killing it. Obviously, Tom Brady, and with the way that people are taking their approaches to the game and stuff, they're lasting longer. But wide receivers, one
plays for the Cardinals. Yes.
Yeah. If you look at, I always use Ocho Cinco. Ocho Cinco killing people. Goes to the Patriots where you think he would burn it up, but it was the wrong year. He had lost his step because it wasn't Tom Brady. Tom Brady's still out there putting the ball where it's supposed to be. Receivers are one of those skilled positions that you have a shelf life of where you're going to be on top. AJ Green, while still a good receiver, is not AJ Green of 5-7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
true.
Why was Atlanta willing to give up one of the greatest receivers that they ever had?
Julio Jones.
Because as good as he is,
he was on the other side.
He's on the other side, and they saw and believe me, they practice him and they look at him all the time. They have something to base it off of, and they looked at him and said, "Oh no, he's lost a step. He's still good, but before he gets too many steps gone, let's get something for him."
Right, before we don't have any trade value for him anymore.
And I say that all to round it back up to the AB thing. I think AB's killed his chance because his brand isn't strong enough to, or his talent isn't strong enough to garner him another contract and stuff. He's just going to have to. He's going to fade in next season. And the season after, they'll fade away. And the sad part is that he is a very talented receiver. And if he could have kept his mouth shut so many different times, if he could have been more professional so many different times, he could have been in a conversation with a Michael Irvin, one of your greats there, CJ. He could have been in that kind of conversation with T.O. and stuff like that. But unfortunately, he's going to fade off into the Ray Lewis. Not Ray Lewis. What's the running back? Ray Rice. Yeah, he's going to fade off to the Ray Rice Hall of Fame.
Let me ask you this, Ray, because you're going in a direction that I was going to cap it with on this one. Has he hurt his Hall of Fame chances?
Yeah,
I think so. I think so.
Because before all of this, he was pretty much surefire I don't know if he first ballot, but he was going to get in.
Yeah, when they look back on his work, his body of work, when they look back at him being able to win, because championships are big, right? If you look at Hall of Fame players, if you got a chip, that's a big thing. But you got to have a chip and be a contributor, which he was, right? And then they look back on their dominance, the route, and the level of competition that they played against during their reign when they were really performing and stuff. I think, and this is just me again. I'm not on head-to-head sports on 6 o'clock on Wednesday nights, but what I do know is that his resume wasn't finished.
Right.
And while he might have been looking for incentive catches and stuff, the real incentive would have been that golden jacket, and you got to be on the field to get it. And remember, the Hall of Fame stuff is just as much opinion as it is fact, right?
Correct.
And so who is going to, especially right now, it's going to be like a Pete Rose situation. Well, years after the fact, when people have had some time to forget, and the magnitude of his actions and stuff, when the emotions die down and it's just facts. But that's years later before he even gets
Right.
a fair shot at it and stuff. Because right now, there's nobody voting for him.
No.
Yeah. And a lot of, and to your point, Jermaine, for a lot of these organizations, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, the Hall of Fame isn't voted on by fans. It's normally voted on by a majority of sports writers and columnists.
Yeah.
So that's why Barry Bonds would have such a hard time, because he was always an ass to them.
Yes,
So it didn't matter what he did on the field. They just considered him a jerk. Well, you know what, jerk, we get the last laugh. We're not going to let you go first ballot. And a lot of times you could stink your career because of the way you handle the press. So fair or not, that's just kind of the way the system is. It's not a non-perfect system because it's by people that aren't perfect. So that is definitely going to sit there and diminish it. We only got about 10 minutes. The last thing, since we are talking about football this week, and I'm sorry, Anthony said you can't force a player to get help when he doesn't want the help. He thinks he's good and okay. And Anthony then says, I think he might get in. It'll take longer, but he got it. T.O. took years to get into the Hall of Fame. But and that's the point, Anthony, is that he may eventually get it, but they're gonna make it hard on him. They're gonna make him spit it out. He might get that initial nomination and then not get selected year after year after year. They're gonna mess with him.
Yeah.
They're not gonna do that to an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. They're not gonna do that to those guys. But speaking along the lines of some disparaging things, 2004, there was a rule enacted in the NFL. It was called the Rooney Rule. This rule was put in place to supposedly give coaches of color more opportunities to interview for head coaching jobs in the NFL. At that time, I believe there were 4 or 5 head coaches in the league that were of color. As I stand here on January the 20th, 2022, we have 1. What have we done in 18 years to advance the Rooney Rule when we have fewer coaches now of color than we did when the rule was implemented in the first place?
So let me just say, in a more general sense, that when we talk about the purpose of the Rooney Rule, really, it didn't say that you had to hire a black head coach, but you had to interview one, right?
Right.
You at least had to interview one, and a lot of people get confused about the Rooney Rule and its equivalent on the civil side, affirmative action.
Right.
And I use affirmative action a lot. I'll use that one. So a lot of people think affirmative action is that if there's a white candidate and a black candidate, you have to hire the black candidate, and that's not what it means. What historically happened in this country, if you can believe it, is that if there was a black candidate that had a master's degree and a white candidate that had a bachelor's, they would choose a white candidate. What the affirmative action said is that you can do that, but you need to justify why did you hire the more qualified candidate who a lot of times was the minority candidate. If a black candidate had a associate's degree and a white candidate had a bachelor's degree, the affirmative action didn't say, well, you need to hire the black candidate. Well, no, you hire the best one. Affirmative action just says that if you hire somebody who's lesser than qualified, you need to be able to back that up. Why did you do that? And historically in this country, the people with more qualifications end up being not hired based on their skin color. I know, hard to believe in America. Football. I would say easily over the last 40, almost 50 years has been played by majority black players. I think that would be fair to say. And I'll give you the Michael Jordan rule on that. Just simply because you're the best as an athlete doesn't mean that translates over to coaching and stuff.
Correct.
However, we have seen really, really qualified minority skill position coaches, offensive coordinators, different defensive coordinators, and all kind of who are good enough to build defenses and offenses and skill positions and stuff, but never given the opportunity. Hence the Rooney Rule. Well, if you got we know they're qualified because it's mathematically impossible that the only qualified people that can coach in the NFL is 97% white. It's mathematically impossible. That's based on the fact that we have so many players that have come through over the years. Like we said, went to high school with Pep Hamilton. Pep was a great quarterback. Went on to play college ball. Ended up in Stanford. Has a tremendous college resume. Then moved to the NFL. Was killing it in the NFL. He followed Andrew Luck out of Stanford to Indianapolis and stuff, and because he was doing such a great job there. And I said earlier in the show that he turned down the interview as the offensive coordinator for the Panthers and stuff. And I hinted towards it, but it was because I believe he's more qualified to be the head coach of the Panthers than he is the offensive coordinator of the Panthers.
Correct. And honestly, I don't think Matt Rule would really want that to happen because Rule is one bad play away from getting fired and them elevating that said offensive coordinator to interim head coach and then having an opportunity by the end of the year to drop the interim title.
Yeah.
So you probably don't want that smoke, Matt, to be honest with you. I didn't mean to drop in on that, but you're absolutely right. Pep has been around long enough, but this is my problem, Jermaine. It seems to me that when you're white and unqualified, you can still get a coaching job and last a lot longer than a coach like a David Culley, who most people didn't know who the heck he was before the Houston Texans made him their head coach this offseason. Most people know that he was more or less not qualified for the job, but that it was a attempt to try to coup Deshaun Watson back to wanting to stay on the team, because at that point he said, I'm out. I ain't playing another down for y'all. I don't want to be around y'all. That was before the 22 allegations of sexual misconduct had come up. And this was their way of trying to stop the bleeding because DeAndre Hopkins was gone. J.J. Watt had already taken his talents to Arizona. And Deshaun Watson was like, I'm out of here. Y'all need to involve me in some of the input. And they brought in Culley because they didn't ask him anything when it came to the general manager. Now, Culley gets fired after 1 year because they ended up not having Deshaun Watson because of all of the off-field incidents. But in addition to that, Culley only won 4 games with the Texans, but they were actually very competitive in a lot of the other games. The other thing is that they didn't have a very great roster. They gave away a lot of their receivers. They sent Mark Ingram, one of the better running backs, back to the New Orleans Saints. Tyrod Taylor, who was the starting quarterback, missed more than half of the season, and he had to start a rookie that was drafted in the 3rd or 4th round in Davis Mills to be their quarterback, who actually ended up having some pretty good games. With all of that said, he won 4 games with his 3rd string quarterback. The year before, when they had Deshaun Watson, Brandon Cooks, J.J. Watt, and everything else, you know how many games they won? 4. The same amount. Culley comes in, wins with less, and still gets fired.
Yeah.
So my thing is, and we'll just call it Brian Flores gets fired from Miami after the team is going through the whole thing of, do we want Tua? Do we want Deshaun Watson? Tua, Watson. I don't know. We need Tua. Tua ain't that good. Da 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 da. He righted the ship. Their defense was one of the better defenses in the NFL, and they actually had a winning record. And you fire him. Jim Caldwell in Detroit did nothing but have winning seasons year after year. Why is it that Joe Judge, a special teams coach from New England, from the Belichick tree, gets a job with one of the more storied organizations in the New York Football Giants and is allowed to be there for 3 years and sink in mediocrity? Yet David Culley gets 1 year with the Texans and is automatically thrown on the trash heap. Why is it that African-American coaches are being asked to do more with less time?
Brand. I think we talked
Right.
about it, man.
We just
Lynn gets
said
let go from the San Diego Chargers, now LA Chargers, but San Diego Chargers after Phillip Rivers last year because, all they did was win the majority of their games, but that wasn't good enough.
No.
I could go on and on and on about that. Todd Bowles gets kicked away from the New York Jets, lands perfectly in Tampa Bay, but yeah, he's a good coordinator. Leslie Frazier loses a job with Minnesota like that. I could go on and on and on about these black head coaches. Thank God we got Mike Tomlin, who's been around for 15 years, but that's more because of the Rooney family there.
That's the Steelers family, yeah.
That's the Steelers. The Rooney family doesn't believe in making those kind of changes like that. They've had 3 head coaches in the last 30-something years. But that's just a testament to the Rooney family. But why are so many coaches of color put on such a short leash?
Well, I think, and I know we only got a little bit of time, so I'll be quick so CJ can have some time. So real quick, it's more complicated than a simple black or white answer. And I'm the first person to always throw at racism and stuff. And does it play a part? Sure. Sure, in this context of, like I said before, Brandon. But it's individual cities, their fan base, the owners, the GMs who are in these positions and stuff, right? Because there's a lot of decisions that goes on and stuff. And so again, when I say Brandon and stuff, there might be teams who, like the Panthers, like, hey, we suck this year. We know, looking at our roster, that we suck and stuff. So our expectations are metered. And there might be other fan bases who go, I don't care if Deshaun Watson isn't playing and stuff. I pay a lot of money. This team needs to win. And so their expectations are a little bit higher, even though they don't have the talent and stuff. So there's a lot of different factors that goes in there and stuff. We go back and you say we only got 1. We had 4 back in 2004. And so that number, and that's a little bit misleading, right? Because there are years in between. So, what was our highs? What was our lows? What's the average and stuff? We're talking about from single point, but it leaves out a lot of years of context within the league and stuff. And a lot of people have been interviewed. A lot of people have gotten opportunities and gotten jobs and stuff. Maybe they hadn't been able to stick around and stuff. Maybe they've been given a boo-boo sandwich to eat and roster to deal with and stuff. And they just had a lot of things like injuries and trades and all kind of stuff that went wrong. But that is, in the sense of it, what makes football so interesting every year. And we can't depend on people to come back every year and make the playoffs and make Super Bowls and stuff, because there are so many X factors out there. And so extend that out to how our head coaches are having to deal with that, navigate that. Sometimes the opportunity is just not a good opportunity. Like the opportunity in Houston just didn't, it was not a good opportunity. And even if you say, well, he won the same amount of games that they won last year and stuff, well, the expectation when they hired him was to win more than 4 games. And so he didn't meet that bar. And so even if it's, well, he won the majority of games, he won 9 games or he won 8 games. They were 500 this year and stuff. Well, the expectation for that team individually wasn't to be a 500 team, and that's the expectation of their fan base or their owners and stuff. So it's a lot of X factors out there and stuff. So I'm sure CJ will clean it up for me, but I just think that there's a lot of different things out there, and it's somebody who usually throws the erase card out there. I'm going to pull it back in, and I'm going to tuck it. It's concealed carry today. I can still get to it, but I'm just not gonna pull it out.
Fair enough. Take us home, CJ.
No, you hit it. You the concealed carry. That's something that I would have said. That is something that I would truly would have said. Man,
Feel free to say it again.
Too much time around each other. We have spent way too much time around each other. Because that's exactly what it is, baby. Really, it all, you know, who was rubbing elbows with who was networking with who. That's what it really is about, guys. I mean, and we know this. This is what our show is about, you know. So that's what it is, baby. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all time and everything. Brad, I don't know if you still around. Brad, are you still out there? Are you still, you know, watching the show? I can't see if he's still there anymore. I'd like to know. If you are, just give me a thumbs up or a yes and let me know. If not, then I'll close the show out. But yeah, anyway, we come to y'all every single week. We are airing also on Facebook, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we are now, Empower Network is also streaming on Amazon Fire TV. So if you don't have Roku, but you have Fire TV, now you can make sure that you're watching the Empower Network on there as well. Who knows? By this time next year, maybe we'll be on Google TV as well. That is a possibility. I'm looking into it. So always looking to do those things. I don't see where Brad answered, so I'm not, CJ, going to replay the public service announcement. But maybe next week I'll keep it in just in case, because it'll still be just as funny then too. Trust me. 1-800 We Them Boys.
We Them Boys.
Check on your. Yeah, if you know of a Cowboys fan, please, and you haven't heard from them because normally they post a lot on Facebook, and we know this week you haven't heard from them, do not assume that they're okay. Reach out and call them. But if you can't find them, my services are here at 1-800 We Them Boys. 1-800 We Them Boys.
Oh, Lord.
With that said, I will let y'all go. Right? Yeah, thanks to CJ Jones, Jermaine Parker, the franchise. Y'all stay safe out there. We will definitely see y'all again next week. Peace.
All right, y'all.
This a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma.